Welcome back to a new episode of Crashing Out. This week, the Democrats caved on the shutdown in the absolute dumbest way possible. And if you're listening to this show on headphones or you're watching it, you might want to turn the volume down because you're about to hear Phil DeFranco get louder than you've ever heard him before.
Alex, sorry, I shouldn't have. I'm taking after you. I'm screaming because I feel like I'm supposed to be like the guy that's like, hey, okay, I see your point, but let me hit you with a counterpoint, and I'm gonna still try to do that. But I am coming in hot, angry, saying, fuck Chuck Schumer. The guy needs to go. He needs to be out. He's not tricking anybody. Whether it be him saying this, I hate assuming, but it just seems like he was either behind this or he's useless regarding the Dems caving. And I hate saying the Dems because it brings in the whole group. So I'm going to say, the 7 Dems and the Independent and probably several others that were involved. But it's like I look at Tim Kaine and I get furious. I said yesterday, I like boring and no spine. Pick a struggle. Like it is just infuriating to me that this like boring milquetoast motherfucker has just been connected to so much negative stuff. Like he was the least inspiring VP nominee of all time. He helped Trump get into the White House in 2016. Like the only time this man's name comes up and people even remember you exist is when you disappoint them. And then you got Dick Durbin on TV. He's like the human embodiment of a sleepy time cup of tea going like, well, people just don't understand how the Senate works. And we brought attention to the issue. It's like, you brought attention to you caving. You got nothing after 40 days. And like, do you know how over the moon Team Trump has to be? Fetterman, I didn't end up saying this yesterday. I'm not surprised. No one's surprised. I think he at some point Freaky Friday'd with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Maybe that's how they kept him alive after what happened. But it's like, that's confusing. And I'm just at a loss. And I know, here's my one thing. I was like, hey, John Ossoff wasn't part of the 8. I saw that he was considered, one of the most vulnerable Democrats, that he was, apparently his name was getting shopped around. And there's part of me that's like, maybe behind the scenes he was someone that felt like he avoided the bullet because these other 8 did take it. But I don't know. I just it feels infuriating, especially just the proximity to the Democrats winning so well in the elections last week, to the point that you were happy last week. The Democrats, or rather the people that voted for them, they made you happy last week, which is a feeling I didn't know you could experience anymore. Yeah. And I know that they wronged my friend.
Can I tell you though, right now, honestly, this is the first time I've smiled in like 2 days because just you're learning. My young Padawan is learning.
I don't like this. All these. I've talked to so many people and they're like, You're gonna call yourself a progressive at some point. I'm like, don't say the P word.
I don't care about the politics side. I just mean about feeling rage. Okay? Well, we should have called this podcast The Rage Room because of the way sometimes we feel about this stuff. No. First thing, I agree with everything that my hard left socialist friend Phil DeFranco just stated.
They tanked everything for a promise. Was it even a pinky promise?
It wasn't. Listen, this is. I want to start out by just opening. We need to chuck the cuck, okay? I posted it on my Instagram. I've said it repeatedly. I am tired of Chuck schmuck Schumer being out here, being this old man. When you were saying during that, you did a thing, which is fine, which is what people who do news should do, which is you were trying to define it was 7 Democrats plus 1 independent. But I would argue no, because it is all of the Democrats, because this happened under Chuck Schumer's leadership. This needs to be placed and draped at the foot of Chuck Schumer. There's been so many people have discussed whether or not Chuck was truly behind this. I've heard so many different things. But at the end of the day, I come from learning the history of especially the Democratic Party. There was a president named Harry Truman. The buck stops here. What does that mean? Everything lands at the feet of the leader. Chuck Schumer ostensibly has been the leader of the Senate Democrats for God knows how long. I would say too long. And he had anywhere between 8 to 12 defecting Democrats. The highest I've heard is that there were 12 senators who wanted to end the shutdown on the Democratic side, right? Whether or not Chuck Schumer was involved is probably not, it doesn't even actually matter, because one of the people you listed is Dick Durbin. Dick Durbin is the minority whip. That is Chuck Schumer's right-hand man. His job is to literally whip votes. The name comes from, they actually had a guy who used to run around with a physical whip and would hit people to get them to go down to vote. They're not hitting anybody. If Chuck Schumer was really mad about the shutdown ending, he would take every single person on the Democratic side, including John Fetterman, and he would remove them of their committee seats. He would punish them. He would use a vindication or something, be vindictive, all this different stuff. He's not doing anything. He's sitting there looking over his glasses like he just got soup he didn't order. What are you, matzo ball? I want a gazpacho. He's a weak, ineffective old man. And he's the face right now, we do not have a Democratic frontrunner, right? There's a lot of people who are trying to be. Gavin Newsom constantly. Last week, it felt like there was a moment, even though he can never be president because he wasn't born in the country, Zohran Mamdani, he felt like he was stepping up more, right? You have moments where anyone from Gretchen Whitmer to Josh Shapiro to Andy Bashar every now and then popping up. We've had these moments, but in reality, the two leaders of the Democratic Party at this moment are Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, because they were voted internally by all of the electeds in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the two of them have been ineffectual cucks who have sat in the corner while they've watched America get fucked on a fucking hotel room bed that we're all fucking paying for. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. That's why yesterday, when I woke up, I slept on it. I heard about this shit. Phil, let's paint a picture for the people. Let's paint a picture, because some people are going to be listening to this about a year, maybe a month from now, maybe a year from now, maybe it's 3 years from now, and the groypers who are now in charge of the DOJ are trying to use this to build our trial against us. This is what happened on Sunday night. The president of the United States went to a Washington Commanders Detroit Lions game in Washington, D.C. He got booed mercilessly. We're going to insert sounds and the clip of him getting booed right here. That's a lot of booing. There's even footage of like whole crowds putting their middle fingers up. The same exact time that is happening, 7 Democrats cross the aisle. The same exact, it's in the same, you couldn't even give us that night. Like, there are moments, these fuckers used to sit there and watch Twitter trends. They used to sit there and read the tea leaves and understand the news cycle and all this different shit. I don't know where these senators are getting their news. I don't know where they're processing information anymore, because clearly the bubble is showing them a distorted view of the world around them, because they could not clearly see that during a shutdown where the president of the United States is getting booed at stadiums, he spent the entire weekend with the vice president arguing in front of courts that they shouldn't have to feed people, Americans, while also throwing lavish parties for himself and covering the White House in gold. The optics, everything about it, from just a pure strategy side of things, this didn't make sense. Then on top of that, as you mentioned, last week, I felt good. Phil, I felt good. I thought about maybe taking up jogging. I was like, maybe I have something to live for. No lies. I felt like there was something to live for a minute. I said, maybe I want to go outside and feel the brisk air through my lungs, so that way I can feel strong, so I can shout on behalf of a future that could make sense. Maybe. And then what happened? We didn't even get 5 days, Phil. They couldn't even give us a full fucking week. We couldn't even get 5 days. And then on top of that, now I'm watching them. Chuck Schumer had more backbone standing up against the candidacy of Zohran Mamdani and saying no to an endorsement for Zohran Mamdani. He held back how many people? He let all this, he could have fucking come in and done all that shit and played up and said, this is going to be our guy. He's the nominee for the Democratic Party. Look at this. I've met with him. I've spoken to him. All this shit that people have been saying about him the whole time is wrong. Cuomo should drop out. He could have said any of that shit. He chose not to do it then. The same way he chose this time to not stop Angus King, John Fetterman Stroke, and 6 other Democrats from crossing that fucking aisle.
And I think what's really hard about it is there's always a part in the back of my head, and I think it's what Republicans were counting on, where it's like, eventually there's going to be a few that crack. right? Angus King's going on TV. He's like, we tried. He's like, it obviously wasn't going to work out. And I don't know. I feel like all it did was embolden a gangster. It emboldened a man and a party that were like, yeah, I'm completely fine using American people, some of my own voters, as human body shields. And all it does is it emboldens them for the next time. They go, okay, so this was the longest one in history. They might not even last that long next time. We now know who, at the very least, the weak links are. They knew they could count on Fetterman. Now they know, definitely these two are retiring. The other two, maybe you get closer to 28, maybe you get closer to 30 when they're actually up for re-election, and maybe the calculus changes. But you don't know about to your point, maybe at least 4 others that were possibly willing but ready for others to fall on the sword for them. But I'm going to let you hit any other points, but then I'm going to hit you with the counterpoints that I've been hearing from not people that are against Trump that are going, hey, this is actually still going to be a win, and it plugs some of the pain for real Americans, and it's maybe more complicated than the rage that I think both of us are feeling. I
understand that, and I'm going to vociferously push back to every single one of those points. But let's just go ahead and start out real fast just about the 8 themselves, because you mentioned it already. Dick Durbin is retiring. He's 80 years old. Angus King, which, by the way, I just want to note, a couple weeks ago, I came out very strongly against Maine. Angus King is from Maine. Also, I thought we were the No Kings party. I just want to throw all that out there. With, by the way, actually both Move On and Indivisible, both of which were very heavily behind No Kings protests, have come out heavily against Chuck Schumer now and said that he needs to be replaced. Mind you, Indivisible and Move On and other different Democratic, especially who would usually be labeled progressive groups, these are the groups you need to actually get people out into the fucking streets. These are the people who actually mobilize your voters to show the fuck up. And they are noticing and realizing that the brand toxicity that there is around Chuck Schumer in particular. So we have Angus King. He is up for re-election in the year 2030, a year that I don't think many of us sitting here even think about. A year that we don't even believe will ever actually come. The year 2030, next decade, this man will be up for re-election. Cortez Masto, she is not up until 2028. Rosen is up again in 2030. Hassan is up again in 2028. Shaheen is retiring. John Fetterman has brain damage. And Tim Kaine is up in 2030. I just want to, I'm going to harp on this because I don't know if you know this. John Fetterman's book just came out. He just released his book. And the reviews, not good. Not good. They are probably some of the worst reviews that I have ever seen on here. And actually, the one that really got me was reading the New York Times review of his book, where they basically just kept stating over and over again, he seems miserable. He hates his job. He hates everyone around him. And he is completely angry at the entire base of people that voted him. And then the entire book, the entire review ends with a notation of suicide awareness and where to get resources. So I'm like, that's terrible. That's awful. Looking at this list of people, though, the big thing that really sticks out to me, besides Tim Kaine, who the only reason I know of, as you noted, is because of the 2016 VP choice, which is still shocking, and an SNL sketch from last year talking about how no one remembers he exists, and Dick Durbin for being the whip. And being so high up in the Democratic Party for so long, and Fetterman for being my own personal senator. I actually don't know any of these other senators. These are people I never hear of.
Right.
To me, these are all, even if they're, it doesn't matter in the Senate if they're junior or senior, any of this stuff. These are all hidden backbenchers to us. These aren't the people who chew on television and understand the world that's around them. A lot of them are very old. A lot of them are also very used to going on things like Meet the Press. They're very used to going on and equivocating and speaking forever. I watched an interview with Tim Kaine where he went on MSNBC, and they were like, yeah, the party, it seems like the party's fractured. He's like, the party's not fractured. And they're like, okay, well, here's some quotes from just Democrats. Yeah. And his brain broke. You could watch the senator not get used to actually having it pushed back into his own face of like where we are in this moment. The other thing that got me, though, as I was going through this is, again, we're not even talking about the win that the Trump administration truly had. The biggest win of them all, which is by folding at this moment with no messaging, no moment, or like no reason beyond, it's too much. You have just taken the sins of Donald Trump for the last 40 days and you have draped them over the shoulders of the Democratic Party, and specifically of the Senate Democrats. You've draped it. And don't think that Trump isn't already starting to set this up, or that his people are raring at the bit to do this. Zateo, Mehdi Hassan's news group, they reached out to the White House, and 2 White House officials and 2 other Trump advisors could barely contain their giddiness, according to this article, about the latest instance of the Democratic elite capitulating to Trump. Multiple Trump aides and allies kept gratuitously using terms such as losers and pussies as they reveled in the relief from a shutdown that even President Trump acknowledged was getting Republicans killed politically. At the end of the day, yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, it's like you said, honestly, the last few weeks, because it just fucking keeps happening. It's like the Mario Party meme. Donald Trump and the Republicans are Luigi. Everyone just like goes off the edge, and they kill themselves. And also, here's what I'll say. Oh my God, like I was already against the decision of these 8, but then the decision to do this press conference and then to go on TV. They've done, I don't know if people have told them, hey, because you got elected, you're great communicators. They are just like digging their own graves. It's horrible. Like they're all like talking down to like, you don't understand, like just seeming like the weakest, like most easy to take advantage of politicians. And to that point, I'm like, at least Fetterman, everyone kind of already knows, like polling shows like Democrats in his state are against what Fetterman's doing. He has a way higher approval rating among Republicans. He is a Democrat, really, just by in name only. It is it's crazy to see. But can I hit you with some of the counterpoints? I accidentally cut you off, but I think that you'll hit some of your things.
Yeah, no. The one thing I will say about Fetterman, real fast, is as a Pennsylvanian, we were lied to about him. He lied to us. The brain damage did actually change his brain, and he is being groomed by both Twitter and Facebook to believe that what he's doing is actually much more love than it truly is. And he thinks that he will get Republican votes, and it doesn't matter because he has a D next to his name. So if he does run, he will not get through the primary. He'll try to pull a Cuomo if there's any money that is dumped at him from somebody like Tim Mellon, who I just did an episode about on Too Many Tabs, the podcast you can get wherever you listen to podcasts. And the other side of things is that he won't get voted by Republicans. He won't. They'll tell him all this different stuff. They'll say, oh, my God, you're the prettiest girl. Come here. Oh, my God, you're so great. This is amazing. I'm so happy you could come to us with a prom. And then the second anyone else looks at them, they will run away because they have an R next to their name and they can control them.
No, I agree. Okay, so some of the counterpoints.
Let's go.
It stopped the immediate pain for millions of Americans. Once again, it's because Republicans were holding them hostage. But it's going to put Obamacare subsidies Obamacare subsidies front and center in December. And then if that doesn't work, Obamacare subsidies end, and like most Americans will start feeling the impact in January. And the belief is if they don't get their way in December because Mike Johnson maybe doesn't allow the House to vote on it or any number of things, that it seems like why this is doomed. Once again, I never want to say anything 100%. It does feel doomed to me. I don't think that, I think that what they're going to do is they're going to offer their own Republican thing to say that they tried. It's going to be a very stupid bill, a very ugly bill, something that maybe inflicts even more pain or just doesn't do enough. And they're going to go, hey, we both tried and we both failed, and now it's going to move. But their mindset from a strategy standpoint is that this is now, because of the last 40 days, so focused on that it is no doubt the Republicans' problem, and they're going to be blamed for it in the midterms. So I think there's a strategy standpoint. There's going to be so much pain, though, experienced that way. And that is kind of it. It's really an idea that in January and December, this is going to really hurt the Republicans, and people are going to kind of forget what happened now, unless Democrats really turn this into a firing squad against each other.
They won't. They want it's a complete failure. It's a complete and total failure because, number one, you're setting yourselves up as the Democratic Party for a Lucy football Charlie Brown situation. For those of you guys who are listening to the show who have never watched that much of the Peanuts, because I do feel
the Gen Z.
No, but this is actually a thing. This is a thing that happens. I listen to a lot of podcasts about history, and there's a thing about cultural references where we assume that people talk that we know, and these things get lost over time. And I understand that there's generations of people who never grew up watching fucking Star Trek and all these different things. There's a thing. Lucy is this little girl in Peanuts, and she holds a football, and Charlie Brown is going to run up and kick it. And every single time she pulls the football away, Charlie Brown at full force still tries to kick the football, and he falls flat on his back. It is a running thing of over and over and over and over and over again. And this is exactly what's happening with these old fucking moderate Democrats. Because that's the other thing about this whole entire list of people. Because even when you get to Fetterman, at this point, his brain age is 79. So when you get to that fucking level, they just have a trust and a belief that these fucking monstrous liars that are standing across them on the aisle are actually going to stick with anything. I mean, they got a deal. This pinky promise is that there's a vote in the Senate. In the House, how long has that the new Congresswoman not been sworn in? It's been like 6 weeks, right? 6 weeks. The House hasn't been called into service since September 18th. We're recording this on November 11th. I think that in the last 90 days, they've worked 12. And you think that they're going to do something? They just said it. Mike Johnson's job for the last year has literally just been, no. He's passed the big, beautiful bill. End of list. That's it. Everything else has just been shut the fuck down. So if they think, oh no, we're going to speak to the better angels of the Republic. The better angel of the Republican Party right now is Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're in hell. All right? Tim Kaine, fucking Jeanne Shaheen, all these fucking idiots. I don't understand. This is the same problem I had with Biden for a very long time. Biden had this wistful old man view of eventually this is an abusive relationship. The Democrats are in an abusive relationship with the Republicans. They believe that they can get back to this spirit of bipartisanship. They believe that we can get back to this spirit of we're all in this together, that it's one government with two parties, and that at the end of the day, we agree with more than we disagree. No, they don't. They agreed to starve 42 million people going into Thanksgiving. They agreed to strip. I talked about it last week. My healthcare costs alone for a family of 3, 2 adults and a toddler, is going up $2,000 next year. It's $160. We don't have subsidies. But because the subsidies are being removed from other people in the system, the price of all these boats are going to rise. Are they ever going to go down?
Everything's impacted.
Fuck no. It doesn't. Prices don't get down. That's called de-inflation, and then people flip the fuck out. So we have to go up forever. What are we talking about now instead? They're talking about 50-year mortgages? They're talking about 15-year car loans. The cars don't even last 15 years. And these are the ideas. These are the genius ideas that are coming out here. We got the president of Argentina coming up here doing double dick dances while celebrating getting $20 billion, and the president and vice president are going to court over and over again saying that we don't need to feed people. But the thing is right now we're in a situation, and the Democrats need to understand this. They don't get it. If you ever watch like a cop show, they always have like the young cop never promise that you're gonna catch the guy because that's just gonna make them not hate the guy who killed your daughter. It's gonna make them hate you. This is what we keep doing over and over again. The Democrats keep doing this over and fucking over and over again. They keep coming in and going, we have a plan. We're gonna fix it. Oh no, they pulled the football away. It's like, yeah, bitch, stop kicking.
Yeah, well, here's what I'll say. We are now where we are. And so I think moving forward, if you are not one of these 8, it is your job for the next 24 to 72 hours to rail against this hardcore. I don't care if you were once again, I hate thinking about this from a strategic standpoint, but everything that's the game right now. They need to denounce this. They need to call it out. I commend those that are saying that there needs to be a change in leadership. I think that's a scarier jump for a lot of people because, who knows what's going to happen in the foreseeable future. The problem is I have such a distaste right now for leadership. Even when Hakeem Jeffries is talking about he's like, I'm angry about it. We're all going to vote no.
We're still
I'm
in the fight. No.
Yeah, man. The talk points where it's just, he's not taking the brunt of it right now. Jeffries.
Jeffries is an AI chatbot. That's how I feel. God. I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I thought I called a human line. And you know what I mean? Have you ever called into one of those lines and they have fake, like a fake phone center in the background? That is Hakeem Jeffries as the minority leader over in the House.
But here's what I say. And the reason I say 24 to 72 hours is I think it's important as far as visual, but also this can't, outside of leadership, a leadership change. I think this can't be anything where Democrats kind of lose sight of, okay, so the next fight, is December and January, and then the midterms, right? The infighting right now is so rampant on the right that Democrats need to make sure that they do not fucking crazy splinter off from each other before then. Because right now, like, this has become a fixation of mine for the last month. Like, I've always consumed the media just to see what's going on. They are going after each other. I think that they might get their shit together by the midterms. If not by the midterms, definitely by 2028. But like,
define who they is.
Yeah, no. So they is a lot. You have to say they, because
Yeah.
Sometimes that's attributed to a lot of bad things.
Yeah, no, but it's just no pronouns, pal. Let's go. Who's they?
Right. So, but I mean, the Ben Shapiro versus Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and who did I see this morning? Steven Crowder. Like, they're going against each other on so many issues. A lot at the core of it is truly like mindset and support or being against the Netanyahu in Israel. A lot of that is like feeding it, but then it splinters off into a lot of stuff. But they are going after each other. Some people are just doing it, I think, purely for audience capture. In the wake of what happened to Kirk, there was just a lot of audience up for kind of consumption. That's a really dark way of looking at it, but I think that's what some of these people are pushed ideologically, and then others are pushed from a business sense. But let them go fucking crazy, and then fine. But I don't know if the Democrats can do it if Schumer stays in place.
But see,
so I'm agree with I won't I won't use the slogan, but I agree with you that a change of leadership has to happen.
Yeah, well, a change of leadership has to happen. But the one thing I will also argue with what you're describing there is there's a difference between influencers, because those are all influencers, fighting versus politicians fighting. In both cases,
but there's only a little bit. There's only a little bit.
I know. There's only a little bit.
Whether you want to consider Ted Cruz is kind of an influencer with the fact that the guy has like one of the biggest right-wing podcasts in the world, or the fact that a lot of these politicians, if they used to follow Fox News and now they're following influencers, it's all one big machine, and that's been kind of the goal, and that's what we've seen implemented.
But I think on the right especially, we're in a pre-succession crisis. And that's part of what this is. I mean, and in reality, Charlie Kirk, before his assassination, he was one of Trump's top influencers. Him, Turning Point, the funders, all the different things pouring into that.
The constant calls, yeah,
all those different things that they had, and like, especially when it came to building Trump's young man army, of Trump supporters, and like, you know, the way so many people were shocked going into 2024. A lot of that was because of the baseline that Charlie Kirk built up by holding Turning Point USA events at colleges and just showing, again, physical people there in that physical space. Yeah. You know, we're seeing that. I don't see anyone yet who is actually going to be like, quote, the next Charlie. I don't think there is going to be one. I think we're seeing a lot of people trying to. There's no one person who can do everything that he did, to run the clip channels, to actually run the events.
If there was a system around him, Fuentes. I know that people treat his name like the boogeyman, and they do that because he, with the audience that he has captured, is so influential. If I know that you kind of joked, like, in, you know, the Groypers take over in 2028, but everything's pushing that way.
Oh no, but the difference,
because
but the difference is, I'm not saying that Fuentes can't do that. I'm saying that Fuentes, if he did that, is for Fuentes' power. Charlie Kirk did it for the power of Republicans and the funders and everyone else out there. Charlie Kirk was a really, really good like regional director for a specific cohort. Nick Fuentes wants to be the Fuhrer. Like, there's no, you can wrong Nick Fuentes and then have, I mean, look at some of the people he's gone back and forth with. Like, that's the one thing that's been very interesting of like him and Tucker partnering up a little bit, or at least like having this little moment, is because, again, in 2 weeks, they'll turn on each other like over and over again. We see this all the time with streamers, because at the end of the day, like, Fuentes is number one, he's a streamer. And we'll see this like repeatedly because he has to keep the content churn. He has to keep the content churn. That matters, is going to matter more. And that's the other reason though why I also say like, the difference right now in the fracturing is more inside of that. We saw a big fracturing on the left going into 2024 because of, specifically around Israel and Gaza. It's still there. There's still issues to be had. And what you're seeing though is you're seeing a lot of the moderates fall by the wayside, beginning to retire or start to fall off, and the ones who are at least are understanding, or they're being waited out. We're like waiting out to see this generation of Democrats leave, who are willing to accept AIPAC money, who are willing to turn a blind eye for these different things. I mean, again, we've mentioned his name a lot this episode, but John Fetterman is a perfect example. He doesn't. I think he believes that it's a very small group of people. He doesn't realize that it's the heights it's in. Schumer is the same way, where I don't think he thinks that it's as high as it is. And so the moment of Zohran Mamdani getting through and other things that we're seeing in the culture on how this is moving, the discussions on, the old rules of, Zionism versus Judaism and the definitions of talking about these things inside of identity politics. All of these things are shifting right now. And on the right, you're seeing them go into very much more of a Fuentes angle, versus on the left, we're seeing it go in a slightly different angle. There's arguments in the middle that is being used in comparing both in the horseshoe theory, which is trying to say that people on the left who are anti-Zionism or constantly giving money to Israel are the same as someone like Fuentes or Candace Owens. And we're seeing they're all temporary alliances, and they're happening very rapidly, and they're deteriorating even worse. And so that's, to me, what I see right now, and it's not happening inside the Senate. Ted Cruz isn't calling John Thune.
No, but he is addressing Nick Fuentes, and it is an acknowledgement of the influencer control over politicians and the voter base. And part of the reason I think that wing of the party is going to continually take over is that there is a lot of really negative stuff associated with the things that he's promoting, but he's also hitting hard on affordability. When I watch Shapiro, he's talking about people needing to move if they can't afford places. It feels very like ladder being lifted up on people that feel like they, by being born here, that they're promised the American dream. He has that rant, I forget if it was a few months ago. No, I think it was a few years ago, where he talked about like we need to raise the retirement age. And it's just like there is this wing of the Republican base that I think Shapiro embodies, that is very much like, you are a cog in this machine. You're, obviously, there is already the push of like, you're not special, but it's to the point of like degradation and disrespect, where it's like you are to serve your betters, is what it feels like oftentimes, of like you are to feed into this machine, and you need to keep working. How dare you want to retire? Like it's anti-human. And I do think, even though I was raised on it, and so I was indoctrinated on it, and so I'm like, America, like I still get, the red, white, and blue is in my veins. Like I think that we need to make good on the social promise that America is, and what he pushes doesn't feel like that. It's very anti-real person in this country, and I don't know if he's always been like that, or it's just because he's in this heightened position.
Well, the job of Ben Shapiro is to defend what his funders already own. That's his job. His job. Nick Fuentes is in recruitment mode. Nick Fuentes
who owns Shapiro then?
What's it? The billionaires who paid for Daily Wire, different groups like that. I mean, he has billionaire backing. Obviously, there's been accusations against him for years about whether connections going to Netanyahu and things like that. I don't want to get into that too much.
Sure,
but there's something there. But in general,
that's where he gets hit on. That's where he gets hit on a lot. Are people saying that he's really Israel first rather than America first?
Yeah, well, and that is right now what Fuentes has been pushing that. Fuentes has been pushing that. I think it was back in there's a video of Fuentes in 2018 or 2019 following Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was going, I think, into CPAC, and Fuentes is outside with a group of young men, debate me, bro, screaming all this different stuff as Shapiro's walking by with his kids. That's been a long time. But Fuentes is in recruitment mode. Shapiro is not in. Ben Shapiro's job is to hold the line for the ideology on behalf of. To me, I think it's more important on behalf of the billionaires and the funders that will toss a bunch of money at him for a bunch of failed projects. I mean, when you look at the Daily Wire only exists because he had an infinite money glitch of people coming in. They tried kids programming. What the fuck are we talking about over here? Lady ballers, right? Matt Walsh. Am I a woman? All this shit is laughable garbage, but it makes sense if you have a rich man who thinks if I pay 0.5% to Ben Shapiro, then I won't have to pay 2% to taxes. That's where their investment brain comes into. And Ben Shapiro, I've hated Ben Shapiro for 20 years. I hated this man forever, okay? I remember back in fucking 2006, sitting on MySpace, hearing about Ben Shapiro for the first time, and he was like 19 years old, and he was like, I'm Ben Shapiro, and I like violin and hate rap music, and porn is part of evil, and I wrote a book about it. His job was always to make mum-ums and pop-ups want to pat him on the head and say he was one of the good ones who was, he was a kid, and now he's 40. He's in twink death. Okay? Ben Shapiro is in twink death. That's the pull quote. Make that the fucking clip. Put it up on Instagram. Ben Shapiro looks like he thinks he still looks young. He's not. He has crow's feet. He is using Just for Men. There's been accusations about whether or not he's getting lip filler. All right? Ben, you're a 40-year-old man arguing with fucking streamers. All you do these days is watch TikTok clips. That's what you do. You're a TikTok reactor. You're not better than any of us. And this is all he's done for a very long time. So, of course, someone like Nick Fuentes will come in and not only eat his lunch, take a shit on the table and say, that's you. Because that's what he can do over and over. Nick Fuentes can look down the camera and say, young man, you'll never own a home. You'll never own anything. Young man, you'll never be able to have a family. They are trying to keep it all from you. Who are they? I'm never going to answer that question, but you will on Twitter. Like, this is what a whole part of this thing is. And Nick Fuentes is following a very long line of, especially on the right wing, but especially if you follow recruitment from the Klan, recruitment from neo-Nazi groups and other different white supremacist groups over time. He's just doing it digitally on a fucking stream with Super Chat. Back in the day, the Klan would go and they would circle right-wing rallies and they would pass out cards around the edges. Now, instead, he is just on there and people are paying him $10 and then he's to ask him a question. It's fucking, this is where we are.
When there appears to be no like future that you can really seize, that's where it's easy to pull people up. And I think it once again it hits on that divide. I mean, there was data I think that came out this week that says the median age for U.S. home buyers is now 40 years old. In 2015, it was 31. And it was kind of like it was steady for decades. But now it's like further and further away and. I don't know.
You want to know the most depressing thing in the world? Depressing thing in the world. Go on Zillow. Look at any home around a neighborhood where you probably grew up or you had family, and then go to that home, and then go to price history. Scroll down to price history. Look at how much the person bought it for.
Oh yes.
It drives me fucking crazy. I mean, we bought our home in 2021. We were very lucky to be able to actually find the house that we did. We bid on 13 different homes. It was a fucking nightmare, the whole entire thing. But it was right at the very beginning of all the homes shooting up even more. But you go back and you look, my wife and I were looking, we're like, oh my God, maybe if in 2016, we could have gotten this place for 110? What the fuck are we talking about? A turnip? Like there's so many different things. And again, it speaks to this, look at what has been stolen from you, which is a very, very attractive narrative. And again, this is the other thing I think that drives me crazy with the
but also when you say narrative, I think the important thing to hit is who is responsible for it. That is where the radicalization happens, right? Because I am very much of a mindset of like, look at how much has been stolen from you from the elites, but specifically like billionaires. I'm not talking about any fucking religion or race or anything like that. It's literally just money, like the haves versus the have-nots.
We this week on, I don't want to plug it too many times, but on too many tabs, because I should actually be plugging the fact that I have a comedy show in Washington D.C. this Sunday at 4 p.m. That's what I should be plugging, and I should have plugged a long time ago into this show because we got to move tickets. It's a benefit show. But
bye guys, bye.
Yeah, bye. If you're going to be in Washington D.C., I'm going to be there at the Comedy Loft at 4 p.m. on this Sunday. November 16th. Anyway, but in general, on Too Many Tabs this week, we talked about the Mellon family, specifically the guy who gave Tim Mellon, who gave $130 million. Going back, his family has been able to stay in power because of the way they have been able to control presidencies and who they've given money to and how to control tax policies and to get things put away so they could keep multi-generational wealth to the point where when you're born a melon, you're handed $100 and $200 million. And then immediately they can fail however many times they're allowed to. And it becomes this idea of like, oh, you know, the Fuenteses of the world say that was stolen from you because you should have been gifted that land, or you should have had these things, or 3 generations ago you got ripped off in these different ways from these specific groups of people that you can easily identify based on race, gender, religion, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's harder to identify a billionaire because most of them, the ones who've been smart, like the Mellon family, have known to hide. They know to hide in the background. We are only now, for the first time, having groups of billionaires, as we've talked about in the past, like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and others, who want to show us that how much money they have and what they can do with it. Like, this is new. Being this overt about it, having this many cameras, that's the part that's new. We've always had we've always had people, percentage-wise this rich, controlling this amount of the country. It's just been a matter of how much they've been willing to throw it in your fucking face and pop up on 5 podcasts a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just different things. Like, there's a difference, but a connection between, you know, owning all the railroads and owning where people get information. You know, it's different times, different ages, kind of same thing, a lot of control.
A lot of those railroad guys own newspapers. So, I mean, they knew. I mean, it's just different. Again, we're... you know that old saying, history doesn't rhyme, but it sure does repeat. We're doing this over and over and over again. And what is it? Oh, sorry. History doesn't repeat. It sure does rhyme. That's the one. Sorry, you're right. I flipped it back. Leave it in the edit so people know I make mistakes.
I did the hand thing so you could fix it.
No, that's fine. Leave it in. Leave it in. I want the people to know that I'm not perfect.
I appreciate that because I am constantly someone who accidentally says the exact opposite of what I mean. Listen, and I'm just like, fuck.
I want people to know that I'm firing off the top of my head. So sometimes, I mean, yesterday when I posted on about Chuck Schumer. Yesterday, I woke up mad as hell, and I have some contacts in my phone from the last couple of years of doing political advocacy on social media. So I reached out and I sent a text to people, and I said that I would know, as long as Chuck Schumer is the leader, I would no longer support Senate Democrats. Don't ask me for anything as long as he's there. But I wrote, as long as Chuck Schumer is the majority leader of the Senate. And quite a few people were like, this is actually a mealy-mouthed way of you to be, because he's not actually the majority, so he can stay there. And I was like, no, it's a fucking typo. I was mad. I woke up. This is how mad I was yesterday. I woke up and I take heartburn medication because I'm an old man. See, Ben, you can admit that. Anyway, I woke up and I reached for my heartburn medication. I took the pill. And then I looked down and I went, that's not where my heartburn medication is sitting on the countertop, and realized I took a sleeping pill first thing in the morning. So I raged all day running on 10% power. But I was calling, I was texting, just because I gave it time. I slept on it. I went to, the initial vote to the procedural move to keep it going was at 10 p.m. on Sunday. I said, I'm going to sleep on it. Let me wake up and have a better idea of what's going on. I woke up and I'm like, there was still no messaging. There was still no thought process. It still looked like chaos. And I started seeing videos of Chuck Schumer going, we're going to still fight. I'm like, you just lost. And so, like, as these things started coming out, I was like, no, he's the problem. He's the problem. And the one thing we didn't, I know I'm going to circle back into it a little bit. One thing that really drove me crazy is the fact that I was in D.C. For Crooked Con right before all of this happened. So Thursday and Friday I was in DC. Friday was Crooked Con. It was a great event. Lena Khan was there. So many other different speakers. There was a lot of Congress people and a couple senators, but also a lot of communications people. And for me, it was a really, really good event, networking wise, because I got to speak to a lot of advocacy organizations who thought, which I didn't realize this until I was in this moment. People would walk up to me like, oh my God, Pearlmania, I love your content. I'm like, oh, thanks. And they're like, can we take a selfie? Yeah. I'm like, and then I'm having a conversation because I'm a human being. I'm like, oh, so what do you do? Like, what brings you to the convention? And they'd be like, oh, I'm with a Utah voter group. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. They're like, yeah, but you wouldn't ever want to do something. I was like, what? They're like, you're too big. I don't want to. I was like, I'm not. It happened so many times. So I got to like really connect and meet with so many people who never would have DM'd me, never would have reached out, or if they had tried to, it could have gotten lost somewhere in the filters. So just having those like human face-to-face conversations was really, really good. And I got to collect of quite a few numbers of communication staffers for Congress people and senators. And I wielded those like a cudgel on Monday. I was just like, hey, I know we just traded messages, but fuck everybody until Chuck Schumer's gone. And please pass it on. But the other thing that drove me crazy is when I was there was a moment I was looking around a room. I was in like this green room area, and it was other content creators, right? On the Democratic side, on the left, all these different things. I'm looking around the room. I'm like, I think if we combined all the numbers, probably like 50 million followers in this room. Like if just the people sitting around, like just sitting around chatting, having a good time just between all these different content creators.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did no one from the Democratic Party have an idea or a message on how to tell someone what happens when the shutdown ends? There was no message. This just goes right back to me. Right. I mean, like it's in general. I'm not expecting email every day from the fucking Democrats. This is what we're doing today. Please amplify it. But I'm just saying you had a weird opportunity right here because they knew it was cracking. Chuck Schumer tried to put forward a weird vote on Friday night. And we were on Pennsylvania Avenue. When you walked out of the front of it was at the Fed Triangle. When you walk out of the front of the fucking building, it's on Pennsylvania Avenue. I looked right. There was the fucking Capitol. It was right there. They could have hopped on a Lime scooter, came right over, didn't even need to get a car. It was right there. We were less than a mile away from the fucking Capitol. You had nobody in your staff who thought, nobody around there of just like, hey, these different types of things, or like bring people in to be like, how would we discuss this? How would we message this? Just from a
Doesn't that sound right, though?
I know.
Doesn't that sound right?
It does.
It adds up.
It does. It does. It sounds so right from Chuck Schumer, who said, we're going to win with the blogosphere. Like, I mean, fucking, it just drove me so crazy. And I just want to say for anybody out there who's listening to this, because quite a few people came up to me, actually told me they were big Crashing Out fans. And I was like, they were like, oh my God, I love your podcast. I was like, too many tabs that I do with my wife for 3 years? Like, no, Crashing Out with Phil DeFranco. And I was like, oh, he wins again.
But here's the thing. I love to hear that because I really set this podcast up to give to give you a place to rant and for you to slowly radicalize me.
Is that what it is?
I will say, I will say, I was jealous and I was like really regretting having canceled going to Crooked Con. And I messaged you. I was like, I wanted to hit them back, but I had canceled. And then was like, actually, and then I canceled again. And I was like, okay, I just got to leave it. I got to just,
that's Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec with the accounting.
Yeah, I was like, I got to stick with this. But I was, because if I knew you had gone, because I think you were kind of a later addition and maybe producer Ben had gone, I would have 100%.
I was
I'm good with two people or like I'm being part of it too. I'm not good being solo. I'm going to like, oh my God, social anxiety. But I will say, you mentioned the voting group from Utah. This is kind of an aside. They're probably happy today because it looks like based off of what a judge did, we're going to talk about it on the PDS. It looks like there's going to be a Dem seat there, maybe near guaranteed. So that's a positive with a ruling that came down. It was also interesting to see what came out of there's certain things I probably shouldn't share, but it did give me concern that even maybe Dem politicians that and former politicians that I look to of being kind of a guiding light for the party maybe don't share my same level of concern. And that makes me, I kind of like looked and was like, okay, am I seeing this moment as a bigger threat than it is? Or are they kind of more disconnected? And I've landed, and this might be no, it's the kids that are wrong moment. I'm like, oh no, that makes me scared that they seem to be disconnected. That even though, like the one person I'm kind of thinking of in particular, even though they're not in an elected office now, they are seen as such a big part of the heart of the party and what it can be, isn't seeing the threat that we will actually continue to see more things like the capitulating with this shutdown. And so, but I don't know, I kind of wish I was there. I also wish I was there or around other creators to see like the non-filmed reactions to finding out that the shutdown was gonna end because of these 8.
Yeah, I mean, the shutdown happened after we had all left town, but it was just also one of those things in general of, again, speaking back to when you're a leader of a party, you can kind of, the tea leaves. The other thing that came up repeatedly after everything is quite a few people are pointing out, and I think I mentioned it earlier, I just want to repeat it again. If there's 8 to 12 Democratic senators who are willing to go against if his claim is that they did, I didn't want this, Chuck Schumer, I didn't want this, I didn't want the shutdown to end. If his claim is that if there's 8 to 12 senators who are doing that, it only takes 10 senators to remove him as leader. So they have the numbers. You have the numbers. You have enough people who are caucusing with the Democrats to remove him as the leader of the Democratic caucus in the Senate. You already have it. Why are you embarrassing this old man? Why are you going behind his back at this point? If anything, this is a greater betrayal. If this is true, then Chuck Schumer is you're purposely like they think that letting him keep the seat is somehow being nice. And I'm like, if anything, you're doing him a disservice if you actually liked him. I'm trying all the different angles now. At this point, I'm going to try everything. The other day, I just tweeted, I'm like, doesn't he look tired?
You think they're letting him just do the job because they're like, he's a nice old guy?
I mean, honestly, the way the Dems have run the last bunch of years, yes, there's so many of the Dems are such fucking pussies when it comes to like having to push an old person off the fucking train. Like, it just is what it is. Like, he's driving us off a fucking cliff. Like, that's just all there is to it. And like, I'm not asking to have somebody super young. I'm not asking to have, I just need a different face, because one thing when I was reaching out to people and explaining to them why I believe even more content creators and organizations will tell you to fuck off as long as Chuck Schumer there, is Chuck Schumer is brand toxic. Chuck Schumer is brand toxic, right? Even Comcast renamed themselves to Xfinity at some point. Right now, this is Chuck Schumer's party. We're fucking stuck with it. Last year, the Dems and even Joe Biden, even Jill Biden herself knew that we couldn't have Joe as the face, right? Like, there's a moment in there. There's times where you got to change branding. And right now, that branding is looking over its glasses going, what happened? What? I'm shocked that John Fetterman voted with Republicans. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, that's just so dumb and crazy to me. And I just want to keep bringing it back to that, because this is, right now, Phil, I don't got much. This is my one goal. My one goal is to live in a world. I'm not saying because it seems right now that they are trying to run out the clock. It seems like now that they're going to wait. And if they think that people are going to vote to bring in more senators, Democratic senators in 2026, to bring them in, to then have them follow the strategies of Chuck Schumer, they're fucked. They're stupid and they're dumb. And the other part about it, going back to the argument about the families that sacrifice, not only the 42 million SNAP benefits, but again, I'm thinking about all of the federal workers across the United States and the military in general. With all of them, they sacrificed for 40 days, right? They were furloughed and sacrificed for 40 days. For what? At the end of this now, your family suffered for a fucking pinky promise that'll lead to nothing. And that is so much worse. I've been thinking a lot. There was a John Kerry speech when he was a Vietnam vet sitting in front of the Senate, and he said, how do you ask a man to be the last one to die for a lie when speaking about Vietnam? When everyone knew Vietnam was over, how can we keep sending troops over there? How can you be the general to keep doing this order? And if you knew on day one, because this is the day one deal that they accepted, if you knew on day one that there was enough of them that were going to do this anyway, and there was no fucking movement, this is just, this is the visceral. People remember what happened to them, not what might happen to them. And this is, right. I think, like, we keep talking about voters like they're smart. We keep doing all these different things. You made people hungry. You made people scared. You put them in debt. You threatened their jobs. And all of which while having a lunatic president run around ripping down the White House and seemingly you doing nothing. And it just feels very Wile E. Coyote explosion.
Yeah, the question, though, becomes, right, is there to like, once again, a lot of these points were kind of raised by like the likes of like Tim Miller from the Bulwark and stuff like that, of like how this is a win. To your point, is there this swing voter that maybe we're blind to that started feeling the impacts and started seeing that Trump and Republicans are willing to sacrifice them for their purposes, and they go, okay, I got a slight taste of it? Or you think that it would have needed to be extended, and or I guess then to people like Tim's argument, come December, January, if the Republicans don't play ball like we kind of both don't expect them to, will that then be enough to make people realize there's a big difference there? Also, gonna add, if you get rid of Chuck Schumer, do you create 1,000 Chuck Schumers? No, you don't. No, but this is. I mean, the longer Chuck Schumer and people like that are weak stay in power, and the crazier things we see from Trump,
stronger
I think
it
the more
makes
like
Newsom.
Yeah, the stronger it makes Newsom. That's the point. Yeah, it's like people will want his brand of go fuck yourself. You know, I think he had a 1-word tweet reaction just saying pathetic, right? And I think that was a word that summed it up. I think, Newsom doing an interview and like people, like journalists trying to make it so that he feels like weird about him, like quote unquote selling knee pads that are sold out. And he's like, no, the people at colleges and anyone bending the knee to Trump, they bought him out. Like him just sticking with that and like it being kind of a big middle finger toward anyone that is capitulating or even remotely close to it. I think that it just makes him stronger, makes him more viable. And so, yeah, I don't know. The question is, can he keep this shit up for 3 years? Because it's he had a win with Prop 50. The question becomes like, what's the next thing outside of, again, the next 72 hours of being like, fuck these 8 that sold people out.
No, I agree with you completely. I hate that the second there's
1,000 Chuck Schumers.
1,000 Chuck Schumers.
Sorry.
Wait, that would be a terrible shirt that no one would want. That's just,
you've created 1,000 Chuck Schumers.
1,000 Chuck Schumers, and it's just one bowl of soup. The fucking, in general, for me, when it comes to presidential shit, one thing I've always hated is we get a new president and immediately everyone's like, well, who's up next? And like, it just drives me crazy on that. And so I'm still waiting on that. I still think in general, it'll be somebody from the wilderness that we don't know yet. When you look at, especially economic crises like this, like the way Clinton came out of nowhere, not seemingly out of nowhere, but like somebody who is more of a wild card, Clinton in 92, Obama in 2008, those type of things, people that can also fire up. But a big thing, as we talked about last week, who can actually get volunteers, because the volunteers actually, I believe, are going to matter more than the money moving forward. And on top of that, who can, make sure that they have the podcasts and content creators and all these other different people who are willing to have them on. Because speaking back to brand toxicity, when it comes to Chuck Schumer, that was a big issue that Kamala Harris had, was actually brand toxicity when looking at the online conversations, what was happening around Gaza. Was like, I knew a lot of people who would have endorsed her or at least had her on products or done more things with her and Democrats who wanted to stay, quote, apolitical because they didn't want to deal with comment section blowback. I mean, there's a huge part of that in there that is an underlying thing that I've tried to explain to communications people and even electeds when I'm in the room with them. I'm like, listen, it's a tacit approval. Like if a content creator is doing something, if they're not doing like a regular interview show, like you have an interview show and things like that. If you aren't known as an interview guy, then randomly, if a politician even walks through a frame in the background, they know all this shit's edited. So that's a choice. And this is just that type of thing that I wanted to get through their heads. And hopefully they're listening to this show after hearing us scream to fire Chuck the Cuck for so long. And I've tried to keep the cucks down to a minimum for monetization on YouTube strategy.
Oh, I thought you'd be like, because I don't want to kink shame, but it is a good and apt way to describe what's happening politically.
It feels like this is his kink. I feel like Chuck caving over and over and over again is his kink. It just is. There's no other way. There's no.
It could explain things.
It would explain a lot. Because let me tell you something. If I was a man sitting in his chair, having the career he had, I would have left. I would have retired at 65. He's 74. I just want to remind everybody. He's 74. Dick Durbin's 80. These people are old. They can be defeated by stairs.
That's your best line. I like that.
Thank
I
you.
like that. That's my favorite line from the podcast today. But Alex, as we close out today's show, let's go to comments and questions on YouTube and Spotify. I didn't see. I don't think anyone did anything on Apple Podcasts as far as a review. It'd be a weird place to put it. But we have 916 V Kid on YouTube who said and asked, Nancy Pelosi leaving so abruptly should scare us all. Why now, Alex?
Why now?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Feels. I know that it's like she's so old. It feels crazy. But that hasn't been a good enough reason for a lot of people to
No.
to leave. So I almost get it.
I think it might be so she can choose her successor. I think that's why. I think it might be partially reading the tea leaves.
Are you saying she doesn't like Hakeem?
No, not Hakeem Jeffries. I'm saying for her seat.
Oh.
Yeah. So
because I was like, I don't think she likes Hakeem Jeffries.
No,
either.
I don't think she does either. I don't think she likes Hakeem Jeffries either. But also in general, I think it's she's leaving now because she's looked around. She's seen what happened with Ruth Bader Ginsburg and some others. And I think from some things I've heard in the background pretty recently, it's been also that I think she wanted to retire years ago. But there was some fuck ups again because she didn't want it to be handed over to Hakeem Jeffries in general. But again, that's just little rumor stuff here and there. I think she probably would have actually left in 22 if she could have handpicked a different minority leader choice. But I think now is she's because there's like a couple people who've been like habitually running against her in primaries, and again with the Dems. Oh, well, it's their turn. They've been in line. And so she wants to go handpick somebody. So next question is from Brianna Bellicanish on YouTube. Would you guys ever consider having Mrs. D and Mrs. P on, even if it's just a segment? And I've been thinking about this a lot, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I was thinking, like a special crashing in. You know?
Crashing in.
Yeah. Having Mrs. DeFranco versus Mrs. Pearlmania, have the two of them complain about us. And the world. Oh
God, I don't need to give her a platform for that. We had a conversation like 5 years into our relationship because she thought it would be like cutesy to when like sometimes couples will be like, oh, he did this. I'm like, can you not? Because it sounds like I was like it creates this horrible wave. But Lindsay crashes out more than me. And she's we both care. She's more passionate about it. So I think people would probably enjoy that. But also people have always liked Lindsay more than me. So I think I'm down.
I think people would be very interested to hear Mrs. P on a podcast where I'm not sitting next to her actually holding her back a little bit. Because on our show we had.
So this sounds the same actually.
Yeah,
oh wow,
yeah.
Okay.
No. It could be like there's been times we actually had on our most recent episode. There is a moment that we had to go back and listen to it because our editor bleeped it. Because I actually said in the moment, I'm like, you got to bleep that. Because she said something and I was like, that'll get me kicked off every platform. Like that's a crazy sentence. And so yeah, no, she's very, very passionate. I think it would be very, very interesting to see. I would call it crashing in. You know, and then maybe we'll look at I don't know, sometime pick a holiday, April Fool's or Halloween or something like that. We'll figure out something. But we got to meet
like a
first.
week off to me. Yes, we will meet. We will meet.
Yeah, we got to set up a play date.
Well, I was talking about this with producer Ben. I was like, man, I wish that we were always able to do an in-person because the only thing with this is because we're doing it through Riverside is that even with like the minimizing of the delay, it's like it's hard. It's a little harder to have that like quick back and forth where it's like you're not completely derailing someone. And so it's always an interesting thing, but I'm down. And I think Lindsay also felt good because I think where the conversation was happening was on an Instagram post, and it was Mrs. P and V saying, we got to do a podcast together. I was like, Lindsay, you should do whatever to also create an easy way for LindsayForFulton.com to be constantly out there and helping your campaign.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is actually in the past, because your wife is running for school board.
Yes.
Yeah, and in the past, you would say all the time, like, you don't want to do that. Little of the internet. Now it's like, you got to Ted Cruz it, bud. Get up there and start selling Black Rifle Coffee Company. That's how it goes.
Well, because I used to think like, oh, well, especially for such a local position, doesn't make sense. But it does help with fundraising and like finding out like through this process of like how important, especially for local positions, like mailers are. And then so the internet, yeah, you can find a few people here and there, but that's locally like through like local Facebook pages and stuff. But it really is about fundraising to help support the local stuff.
Yeah, and I find with local stuff, it's mailers, door knocking, and the last thing is making sure your lawn signs aren't on assholes' lawns. Like that's to me, for when it comes to real locals, because I know who I don't like in my neighborhood, and if I see a sign on their lawn, I'm like, oh, you like that person for school board? Absolutely the fuck not. I seen how you raise your kids. I don't want no. You don't pick up after your dog. You can't pick a school board member. So that's my big thing. That was a great question. Thank you, Brianna.
Yeah, thank you, Brianna. And the last one we have is from Sage Faye Odin on Spotify, who says, do you think the Supreme Court denying the request to revisit same-sex marriage is indicative of them going against MAGA Trump Project 2025 playbook?
No.
I think this is just, I don't think this is, also, I don't think that this was something that was on Trump's personal thing that he like felt really passionate about. And I mean, I don't know how much that connects to the math from some of these justices, because they've made some decisions that he is not happy with, even though they're more than happy to push through an emergency thing for him. But it was, I guess it was the closest thing to heartening that the Supreme Court has done.
Listen, yesterday I was literally screaming, "We got to fire Chuck Schumer," and then ding. Oh, okay. I like that. Get rid of Chuck Schumer.
I don't like that we have to be like, yay, the crumbs.
Yeah.
Yay.
I mean, it is good. It is good to know that Kim Davis is going back to go hide in a hole next to Jill Stein somewhere again, only to return in a few years. Go get married and divorced somewhere else, you fucking waste of space. Like, that's my headspace. Just be a regular Karen, not a fucking super steroid Karen. Yeah, take your 2003 hair bump and just go fuck off into the distance somewhere. I think in general, this is one of those ones where I think it was more shocking that it got as far as it did, was more of it. But I think this wasn't, like you're saying, this wasn't part of the official plan. I know that there's stuff in Project 2025 and things that both MAGA and Trump have said about overturning gay marriage. But I also think that there is something they would have to take some pretty big steps to do that. And these are fundamentally lazy fascists when it comes down to a lot of these different types of things. So I think that they're never going to stop trying, but they aren't going as full hog on it as they did 10 years ago, trying to stop it from happening now. It's a lot to wind it back.
Yeah, and I would say, but don't let these little things give you any reason to take the foot off the gas, because, a lot of what we're seeing, right, these are justices that were put in through Trump 1.0. And what we've seen with Trump 2.0 is they've understood, they've moved where the goalposts are. And, change, it happens in a second, but also it happens over time. And I don't know if you want to say the Overton window or anything, like that's moved of what's normal. But I don't think that it is crazy, because a lot of what has happened and a lot of people that have been put into place, it is because of the religious right. And so to discount anything as a possible eventuality would be short-sighted. Yeah,
no, I'm just saying under the current structure that they have at this exact moment. I think if you'll have some of them who are going to work on this for the next, as we saw with Roe v. Wade, took 50 years. Took 50 years for them to overturn Roe v. Wade, and it was a constant and consistent thing. They're never going to stop trying to vilify and overturn same-sex marriage, but I don't think they have it. I don't think they currently have the playbook to run it, to do it the way that they're going to talk about and fundraise against.
But on that happy note, wow, I actually feel like I got, especially early on, got the poison out of my brain, so I can have my head in a good place to put out a show today. I hope that the same for you, or is it just the same? Do you feel like this was a therapeutic in any way?
Can I tell you, before we started doing this show, I think I just screamed more, and now I'm like, oh, I gotta save it for Tuesday. I gotta save it for recording day a little bit. There's been a little bit of me sitting down, but actually, which has been healthier for me, because I've been taking less swings, I'd say, at social media for the rant side of things, because I want to take a bigger, longer look picture of it. On this show, I get to talk about stuff with you for an hour. And, we know what we're kind of, the references we're using, all those different things, versus on social media. I'm like, I got 15 seconds to introduce an idea, explain the idea, add in 5 different jokes, and then hit a punchline while watching the retention plummet at a rate that would hurt most teachers. So this is great. I love this. Crashing Out is one of the top 5 podcasts I'm currently on.
Oh my God. And hey, we got some juice, dude. I like seeing I've never been a part of a channel that we get more views than the number of subscribers, though. People should keep subscribing and following.
Yes.
Let's get both of those numbers up.
Yes.
I love it.
Like, subscribe, comment, send us more of your questions. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those different places, please give us those 5 stars. Share it around with your friends. Maybe go, oh, you know what? I've never heard Phil DeFranco like this mad before on this episode. Throw that one out there. Be like, hey, all these people about him were right all these years. Throw that. Send it to your crazy uncle. Let them get triggered. Let's build this in a way that in the future we can all make enough money that we can flee this country.
Thank you for watching Crashing Out.